to introduce my subtopic slash cultural food, which is something I hold near and dear to me, which is Laotian food, as I am Laotian myself. Now, Laos, Laotian food, Laotian culture, the land of a million elephant. What is it? It's a very unknown. It's very unknown to most people, as Laos and Laotian people aren't very known, and is one of the smaller Southeast Asian countries. Well, luckily, I'm here to tell you about them and their amazing food. Some of the main points I'll be telling you are some background information, environment slash geography of Laos, how it affects the food there, and finally, the food being here in the U.S. Heading into a small crash course of Laos and Laotian people. Laos is a country in Southeast Asia. It's a pretty large country. Now, according to a book called History of Laos, it explains that from 1893 to 1953, Laos was a French colony. It had also been through many different types of government, like monarchs, socialist states, communist states, and now a republic. The two main religions in Laos are Buddhism and Thai folk. Laos is one of the poorest countries in the world, but also has had rapid growth in tourism, and it has the nickname of the land of a million elephants, as elephants are very prominent and are a national animal in the country, which you can also go and take a ride on if you go and visit. There are many there there are many amazing waterfalls to visit, as well as monuments to see. Now, moving on to the geography of Laos and how it affects the food of the country. Looking at the country, Laos is a landlocked and mountainous country in Southeast Asia. And according to an article called The Effects of Seasons, Geography, and Urbanization on the Diversity of Edible Insects at Food Markets in Laos, which about the geography talked about the majority of the country being over 1,000 meters high, and some areas like the capital, Vientiane, being at 100 meters high, as well as being mountainous. 58% of the country is a forest. They also receive monsoons, which cause the rainy seasons from May to October, and a cool season of November to February, and a dry season, which is March to April. You can imagine how many floods they get as well. Looking at the citizens of Laos, over 2/3 of the countries live in rural and agricultural areas, as it's how they earn their living. Now, looking at the geography and living situation of Laos, would you believe me if I said most of their proteins come from insects? According to the same article, Laos has the highest percentage of people using insects as food in the world. Other proteins come from fish, reptiles, birds, cattle like cows and ox. Many of the food eaten there in Laos is packed in flavor and aromas, as the country itself is very agricultural, and you'll find many different herbs, spices being planted and harvested, especially rice, which is one of the staples of Lao cooking, and many of the dishes contains rice to eat with the main dish, or is actually being incorporated into the dish itself. Now, onto the actual food. The next dish is one of my favorites noodle dishes of all time, which is called kapun, which is rice noodles, but in this soup it has coconut milk, fish sauce, badak, lime leaves, garlic, shallots, Lao chilies, and fish mint. Then the protein of the soup is usually either chicken or fish. In this dish is used again rice, turning it into this time noodles and making it into a soup which you can add to so much more. You can add so much more aromatics and um uh, different spices and just make it your own. There are many other dishes like tamahung, which is a papaya salad, lap or larb. If you ask anyone, I prefer to say lap. Gangnomai, which is a bamboo soup, and dishes with edible insects, and many others which are becoming more known to the US. Finally, there is so much to Laos food with its diversity in types of food and the many ingredients and the use of types of herbs and spices and aromatics. My suggestion is just try the food yourself, just see what you like. Seen in more recent years, there has been a rise to Laotian restaurants in the US. In an article from the Washington Post, journalist Daniel Maoi, they had written about a Laotian chef named Sang Lung Raf, who has been able to give more recognition to Laotian food in the Americas, spreading its taste with her restaurants.